Hi, everyone. Raj Gavrola. Experiencing intelligent breakthroughs in your performance and life. This week, we're learning and discussing how to solve, or strategies, 7 strategies to solve a performance gap. This could be a performance gap of your own, as far as in your development and growth, or it could be a performance gap for a client of yours, or for a family member, someone you're helping, someone you're working with. So there are 7 strategies for you to consider, and I think it'll shed insight and give you some direction to start to look into solving a performance gap. So the first strategy, and I know this because of work experience and being in what I do and seeing people in different situations in all walks of life. And when we start to get into more of the granular part of solving a performance gap, this is after, let's say, I give a keynote or a program and have everyone on board and they're learn the reason why, how, who, what to do to get motivated, inspired, engaged, and interact, and why this is important to them. After all that's done, then on the granular level, so this would be in breakout sessions or in coaching, training, education, being educative. And it's simply this. The first strategy is to identify and prove the performance gap. This is something I also learned in graduate school when we were discussing improving human and organizational performance. And see, there's 2 keys there in that sentence I just said. One is you're talking about human performance. So what we're doing now is we need to look at those variables on what it is that's making the individuals that are involved perform the way that they're performing. So we look at that from a human level, a person level, individual level, a team level. Then you also look at it on an organizational level. You look at it at the level of, is there something systemically, or is there a process, a policy, whatever it may be in the business that is either positive towards solving a performance gap, or it's a hindrance. And then there's actually one more level to look at, and then that is the societal or industry or outside influences. So we must look at all of those levels. But first, we have to get the buy-in from the individual and the team level, if you're working with a team of people, and really have a discussion and identify and prove that gap. Because once we identify and prove the gap, then we can start to go to the next steps. First of all, we can determine whether or not we want to go and pursue the next steps. And that in itself is worth quite a bit to know whether or not that's something that you want to pursue. Now, this is a process, obviously, that requires research, and it requires someone like me as well as your team to do some of the work and to help guide how this will flourish. And this is just the first step in solving a performance gap. So do you identify and prove the gap from whatever it is that you're trying to solve, whatever performance gap you're trying to solve? Now, here are some insights for you. Sometimes what it is that all we need to do is reduce the number of errors. If we reduce the number of errors, then obviously our performance gap lessens. So that's one helpful way. The other is look at how the communication is occurring between the people who are on the team. And this is done through me observing, observation, and just people working together and helping one another and learning from each other. See, a challenge in a lot of workplaces are that people want to sometimes hoard knowledge because it makes them feel that they have more value. They're more valued by the organization if they have that knowledge and someone else doesn't. However, if you put in activities, interaction, communication to where people see that the value is really in your ability to be educative, right? You can tell somebody to stop doing something and they learn and they don't do it because they listen to you and they apply the learning and they don't do it. But you haven't really educated them on why not to do it. And so they're still at the place of having to depend on you to tell them not to do it. Now, of course, now that they know not to do it, they won't do it again. But they need more educative to feel more of a belongingness and to feel more part of your team. So those are just two very easy to do activities to help you with identifying and solving your performance gap. Now, of course, for any type of performance gap, the more involved it is, these two are always will be a part of it. But then we have all the other strategies that I'll mention, which are strategies 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. But this is the first one. So from the very beginning, take a look at this one. And look at these two helpful points. Reducing errors, and then learning from each other by being educative. Now, there are several examples of this. I've seen so many examples of this. One is that people are sometimes afraid to go ask for help because they don't really know who to ask. They've tried to figure it out on their own, and for whatever reason, they're having a mental block. They're not able to do it, whatever it may be. And just having another pair of eyes take a look at it and having someone they can go to with that is very helpful. And sometimes that's just not there for them. They're putting too much pressure on themselves. They become stressed, and their stress response makes them think differently. And therefore, it just gets worse. Or they're so stressed that when they go ask someone, it's challenging for them in the sense that the person that they're asking needs to have some skill to be able to be educative. And so in engineering, for example, when I was an engineer, one of the ways that we did this was through ISO 9000 review. So we take our drawings to another person, we'd give it to them, they review them, and then they mark it up, and then we take a look at the review, and then we talk about it if needed. That's just one way. Now, that was very helpful because it definitely reduced the number of errors significantly. And that's why a lot of companies become ISO certified. However, to get into more of the application side of what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, who we're doing it, when and why, then that's going to require the team communication where we learn from each other. And there's lots of examples of this. I can tell you that some people, they learn certain things quickly, whereas other people don't learn certain things quickly. And until you really get into this field and this expertise I'm in, you don't realize that each individual has a propensity to learn specific things or do specific things at a different ability. Now, what makes the difference is when you have teammates that can recognize where you're at the level that you're at in looking at this problem, and then you're able to have educative communication or dialogue and learn from each other. Because not only are you learning from the person that knows it, but they're also learning from you. And here's why. Because regardless of which one of you gets promoted or goes forward, which hopefully both of you will, eventually you're going to be in a position where you'll be delegating more and more. And as you're delegating more and more, you're going to be able to, just like a sports team, a coach on a sports team, you're going to need to know what these different factors are and what needs to be set up in a specific way for someone to perform at their best. And therefore, it makes your job easier. And so a lot of people say, well, that's managing people. Yeah, that is. It's also managing the work, things of that nature. And so that's, becomes more and more of your responsibility as a supervisor, as a manager, whatever level you go to, a director, a VP, an executive. And you obviously have different tools to use when doing that. And so that's something for you to really think about. So think about this strategy of identifying and proving the gap, whether it's for your development and growth, or it's for your team's development and growth, or your organization's development and growth. At 4 o'clock, I will be doing my session on solving a performance gap to experience innovation in entrepreneurial leadership. The zone effect for this week, and I'll say this as a soccer referee, I had a zone effect. Because it's a soccer match and people are there with various skill levels, and obviously there's intensity, there's emotion, there's competitiveness, which, these are all very wanted qualities. Both teams win, one team just wins more. They don't see it that way until I educate them that that's really what's happening. It's a lot more than about playing soccer. And so we've had some altercations or close to altercations, and nobody likes that. I mean, we're all adults. They need to go to work tomorrow or do whatever it is they need to do tomorrow. And it just slows the game down, and it's just not fun. And I don't know what's causing this. I didn't see it that much when I was growing up as a kid or when I was playing adult soccer. Although, I mean, I do play in other adult sports and I see it a little more prevalent than others. And that is this. It's just to inform them ahead of time. You know, I inform them the rules. They know the rules. They know that, for example, in this league, there's no slide tackling. If you slide tackle, it's an automatic yellow card. Just some standard rules, no jewelry, no watches, Fitbits, because someone could get injured. But then we have a rule where, you know, if there's some kind of back and forth between the players to where it's not good for what it is that we're achieving, which is playing soccer, or doing, which is playing soccer, then I can send someone to the sideline for 3 minutes to calm down. Now, ever since I started telling the captains this rule, because they don't want to be a man down for 3 minutes, I've had a lot better experience playing soccer, and I'm sure they've had a lot better experience playing soccer. So that was my zone effect. And so what's the point of that zone effect for you to apply? What it is that this is more of a team communication thing as well as an individual communication thing. It's to let them know ahead of time. You know, they don't know all the rules. They're the players. They don't know all the rules. I'm the ref. I know the rules. However, for the ones that they do need to know that can help them to play better soccer, support them in playing better soccer, make it more fun and enjoyable and competitive to really where both teams do win, one team just wins more. It was good for me to inform them of this ahead of time. And that's cleared up so many of the issues there before. And so that's just one example. And this example actually is an example that's helping and supporting them to be a better soccer player. I mean, I think a lot of the times the reason that they do what they do is they just lack the skill level to do what they need to do on the field, and therefore they take their frustration out. Right? So I hope you have a meaningful trigger for tonight. I know I do. Something went out of focus there. I'm relaxing tonight and just going to enjoy the evening, and I might watch a movie. I'm not sure yet exactly what I'll do. I usually like to have my meaningful trigger well known, but just been active and working on creating more content for you all. So that's always important. So it's a little bit of an open evening this evening, and sometimes you have to have those open, meaningful trigger evenings. So I'll see what's in store for this evening. And again, at 4 o'clock, I'll be doing Experiencing Innovation and Entrepreneurial Leadership to Solve a Performance Gap. If something here resonates with you, I can help and work with you. You can contact me at 864-569-2315 or at raj@rajgavrola.com.